Hey, In2Picklers, welcome to episode 5 of our podcast. This week we're going to talk some more about improvement as a pickleball player. What I'm going to focus on today is I'm going to focus on the effort that is required and also kind of the drudgery, if you will. I just finished watching The Last Dance with about the Chicago Bulls 98 run where they won the sixth time with Michael Jordan. And I thought that it would be a good podcast for today. I don't know yet what the riff is going to be because I actually don't know, and it's just going to be a riff today. So if you're interested in some thoughts about improving your game, stay tuned. If you listen to our podcast, you've heard me speak about our online academy before. Right now, we're forming 2 classes. The first class we're putting together is called Get Past 4. The objective of this class is to help you get past 4 shots in every rally. Most pickleball rec games average less than 4 shots a rally. Extend your rallies past 4 shots on average and have a better game. If you're interested in finding out more, you can go to our website, In2Pickle.com, or you can email Laurie, Laurie, at In2Pickle.com. See you in class. This last week I got to catch up with an ESPN series called The Last Dance, which basically follows the Chicago Bulls during their 1998 run for the NBA championship. It's their 6th championship. It's kind of a big deal, especially if you grew up in that time in the 90s as kind of being a big part of your life. You remember Michael Jordan and the Bulls, are kind of a larger-than-life figure. What struck me, though, about the show, other than, it was interesting to see kind of the back and forth and learn some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, was the amount of downtime. So the amount of, not just downtime, but the amount of work that was put in. If you watch the show, you'll see, obviously they show the highlights. They show, the Michael Jordan winning shot, John Paxson winning shot, Steve Kerr winning shot. So they show all these, fantastic shots and kind of great sequences and some interesting on-court experiences during the matches, particularly during the finals series. But, when you really break it down, most of the show is they show them in, practice. They show them dealing with stuff off court. They show them, all sorts of other aspects, exercising in a weight room, stretching, working out kinks in their bodies, as they try and continue to march on to the championship. And what struck me was, how we can apply that to pickleball is, we focus on the, obviously, when we watch a match, whether it's, Ben Johns or Kyle or Simone or one of the Waters family playing, it's exciting pickleball. It's really fun stuff. And so, we watch it and I think part of our brain says, I want to do that or I can do that. And not saying we can't all do something close to that, but, what we don't see is we don't see the hours and hours and hours that all of those players spend working on their craft. I heard it said that Lee Waters, who's one of the clearly one of the top 10, probably one of the top 5 women players in the world, I think she hit something like 10,000 forehand dinks just to get the feel of the forehand dink down. So she has a great pedigree in sport before coming to pickleball. But even a player like that, needed to hit 10,000 plus forehand dinks only just to get the feel of that shot down. And what it really points out is the what happens off the court when we're not playing, when we're not, in tournaments and things like that. That is what's necessary if we want to become better players. I'm going to digress here for a second. If you're listening to this podcast, I would expect that you're the type of player that wants to improve. I would never suggest to someone that just because you didn't want to improve, you didn't want to drill, you shouldn't play pickleball. I think pickleball is, one of these awesome activities that, has so much to offer to all sorts of peoples at all different sort of ideas that they have for what they want for their lives. And so, if you're the type of player that just wants to go out there and play socially and enjoy yourself, then please, by all means, play pickleball and enjoy yourself. What I'm talking about here is I'm talking about, players who have a genuine interest in improving their game, whether it's just to become better, open or rec players, or whether they have aspirations to play tournaments and, hopefully play the U.S. Open or Nationals or something like that one of these years. And, what's required to get that done. And so, what I thought I would do is talk for a few minutes about the different things that you can specifically do to improve that are kind of drudge work, off the court drudge work that, and on court drudge work too, but basically drudgery kind of work, kind of like Michael Jordan did, for a number of years in order to get to where he got. The first thing I'd like to talk about is drilling. If you want to really improve a stroke, so you have a stroke mechanic that you're trying to work on, call it the third shot, a lob, a drive, whatever it is, serve. It's really difficult to work on those strokes when you're in the middle of play. in the middle of play, there's so many other things going on. There's obviously, we're human beings, so nobody wants to look foolish out there and hit a foolish shot and things like that. So it's really difficult to work on stroke mechanics during play. Plus, you're thinking about a million different things. To work on stroke mechanics, you really have to drill. And drilling doesn't necessarily mean you have to be out there for 3 hours, in the heat, with a sauna going, just working. Drilling can mean 15 minutes before you start play. If you have a friend that you play with who can come out a few minutes early and just drill with you for a few minutes, that'll go a long way towards improving your stroke mechanics. But really, drilling is really the only way that I know of to improve stroke mechanics. And you can even drill on your own. I mean, there's plenty of drills you can do where you basically just 20 balls, 30 balls, something like that in a bag, and you go out there and just drop and hit over and over again, and you'll be amazed at how much improvement that'll give you. The other type of drilling you can do that is very effective without a partner is you can do mirror drills. Are very good for muscle memory, stroke mechanic muscle memory. It's a really, really good technique. Plus, you get to see what you're doing because you're working in a mirror, so you're actually seeing how you're doing it. And it's really helpful, obviously, to see that. The other thing you can do is wall drills, whether they're in your garage wall or if you have a park nearby or a club nearby that has either a tennis wall or a racquetball wall, something like that. You go out there and hit against the wall, you'd be amazed at how much work you can get in with a wall. So drilling is really the only way to get that done. And if you want to improve stroke mechanics, drilling is key. Another thing you can do to really help your game is analyze video. And so you can do it the way that we do it. You can get in there and go, down to the everything, right? Down to the paddle grip. Or you can just kind of look at it more broadly, but you really have to focus. Watching a game is fine. It's fun to watch games and enjoy yourself watching them. But if you want to learn from the game, you really have to get into the game, and you really have to focus in on one player, kind of see if you can figure out what they're doing, see if you can figure out what they're doing right, what they could have been done better. We call it the critical analysis, and that's one of the reasons we're doing the online academy actually is to help players with that. And so if you can really understand, you can really study the game tape, so to speak, of the game. What happens then is you're able to see the game. And Lori kind of coined that phrase for us, and it's a really good phrase, which is kind of see the game. So you're really seeing things differently, or seeing things more thoroughly. And then when you're out there playing, it'll help you identify things that you could probably do better. It'll also help you identify things that your partner might be able to do better. And it'll help you identify things that your opponents aren't doing particularly well that you can then exploit to improve your results in that game. So, drilling for stroke mechanics, and then studying game tape for understanding the game and for seeing learning how to see the game are really two techniques. The other thing you can do, obviously, you can watch instructional videos. We have ours. There's Joe Baker has a good series. I don't want to start naming because I'll forget somebody, but there's a bunch of good videos out there. So just go out there and watch some of the videos. What I do recommend though, when you're watching videos, whether they're ours or somebody else's, is try not to do too much. What can happen sometimes is we just take in too much information, and then it basically becomes like taking in no information because you're trying to do too many things at one time. So try and pick an area that you want to improve in. Watch some videos on that, work on it for a little bit. Once you feel better about it, then add something else, and so on until you get to where you get to where you want to get to. In addition to drilling and watching game tape pickleball, the other thing that I think often forget about is, pickleball is a strenuous sport. It's a small court, but we do a lot of movement in pickleball. There was a calculation that I saw in a video where, and I forget, it's on court, off court. I forget the gentleman's name right now, but he basically analyzed a tennis match and said that in an hour of playing tennis, it's about 11 minutes of movement. In an hour of playing pickleball, it's about 22 minutes of movement. The movement is different in tennis. You have longer strides covering more space. Obviously, in pickleball, it's a smaller space, but we take shorter steps, but we take a lot of them as we move around and position around the court. So it's a strenuous sport, and what we have to do is we got to take care of our bodies, and that involves doing some sort of exercise, cardio. Some weights are good too, even just body weight exercises, body squats and things like that. I'm not a huge fan of jostling exercises for myself personally. I'm not convinced that our bodies are designed to be doing 100 jumping jacks a day. Again, I'm not an expert in this field. I'm not trained in it, but my brain just says there's other things I can do that might get me some cardio that don't involve me jumping up and down. I do enough jumping up and down on the pickleball court anyway, so I'm trying to keep that down. But, doing some exercises is great. And then stretching. It's so, I forget to stretch all the time. Jill's reminding me all the time about stretching. She's really good about stretching and doing yoga and things like that. I just, I don't know if I find it boring or whatever, but I just don't do enough of it. Stretching is super important. Usually when I have an injury, it's because I haven't stretched the area. I have usually there's one of my calves that gets tight. If I don't stretch it, all of a sudden I start feeling it in my knee, and then I can't play anymore for a few days. Same thing with my back. And so, stretching is really important. The other thing I've discovered is we live now in a place that has a pool. And if you have access to a pool, there's so many good things you can do in a pool to work out and also to stretch and things like that. So highly recommend you get into the pool, get your body into condition. And that's the kind of drudgery, the just stretching, doing some exercises, working on your balance, things like that. There's some videos that we put out on balance. Highly recommend those to you if you haven't done them. Pickleball, we spend a lot of time moving, and obviously we need to have good knee posture and good balance. So those videos are really helpful to do those exercises. They're super simple. You can do them in the shower while you're drying off, things like that. So there's a bunch of things you can do. A lot of them are drudge work. They're not fun. They're not exciting. They're not doing an Ernie or an ATP while you're on the court. But they're the kind of things that once you get on the court, they'll pay off. They'll pay dividends for you when you're on the court because you'll be able to play a better game. If you're interested in improving as a pickleball player, try and refocus on some of the drudgery. Organize yourself. Give yourself a schedule of items that you can do to improve your game and improve your personal physical self. That'll then translate to becoming a better pickleball player. That's enough of that. Stay tuned for the riff. I told you about our first class. Now I'll tell you about our second class. Second class is called Flawless Pickleball. Here we focus on some of the core strategies that you need to become the best pickleball player that you can be. If you're interested or for more information, go to In2Pickle.com or email Laurie, Laurie, at In2Pickle.com. See you in class. This week's riff, I want to talk about pickleball paddles. All of us have tennis shoes, hopefully, some clothes, water, things like that people are playing with. But, a lot of times we don't necessarily have the paddle that's best suited for us. What I mean by that is that, different players play different types of games. We're also different as human beings. Some of us are bigger. Some of us are not quite so big. Some of us can hold weight for a long time. Some of us can't. What you don't want to do is buy a paddle just because you saw somebody at your club playing with, or just because it's the latest fad paddle. You saw it online, whatever. What you want to do is you want to spend some time thinking about the type of paddle you should get. If you're unsure of what kind of paddle you should get, we recommend starting with a neutral paddle. That's a paddle that's a pretty good balance of power and control. It doesn't have a lot of weight. That means it's going to be somewhere around 7.5 to 8 ounces on the upper end. If you come from a tennis background, you may want to get a paddle that has a little more heft to it and perhaps be more like in the 8 or 8.2 range. And maybe you want a little more power. Deciding on the type of paddle that's right for you is really important because the paddle is the only thing that makes contact between you and the ball. So it's the linkage between the shot that you're hitting and the ball that you're delivering to your opponents, which at the end of the day is the point of the game. If you go to our website at In2Pickle.com, you can find some resources that can help you hopefully select the right paddle for you. We have a paddle guide, a paddle test, and some other materials. Check those out before you decide on the paddle that's right for you. Thanks for listening with us on week 5. We got another 47 weeks to go to complete the first year of this podcast. We'll hopefully get there with you. And let us know if you want any particular topic covered. Send us an email, Tony at In2Pickle.com. See you next week, and stay safe out there.